In just 72 hours, the Middle East went from cautiously talking about peace to being plunged into open war. We're going to break down how a few calculated moves and some incredibly swift retaliation brought the entire region to the brink. Let's dive right in. It all really kicked off with images that honestly were just unthinkable until now. This quote from the AP just nails that feeling of total disbelief. We're talking about cities like Dubai, places known for being stable, safe, suddenly finding themselves right on the front line. And it wasn't just Dubai. The attacks were everywhere, hitting these huge economic and cultural centers all across the region. From the UAE and Qatar to Bahrain, Kuwait, and even hitting Tel Aviv and Israel. Sirens were going off, explosions rattling skyscrapers. It was a clear sign of a massive, coordinated retaliation by Iran. This just flips everything we thought we knew about security in the Gulf completely on its head. So that's the big question, right? How on earth did we get here? Literally just weeks ago, there were reports that peace was within reach. So what happened? What was the tipping point? To figure that out, we have to go back to the single event that lit the fuse. To really get to the why, we've got to look at that one moment, that one event that triggered this whole violent chain reaction. And here it is. The inciting incident was a joint U.S.-Israeli military operation that killed the most powerful man in Iran, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. This wasn't just any strike. This was a decapitation strike aimed right at the very top of the Iranian regime. And you just knew it was going to trigger a massive, violent response. And to really get just how huge this was, you have to understand who the Supreme Leader is. He's not just a president or a prime minister. He is the final word on everything in Iran, both politically and religiously. Khamenei had been in that seat since 1989, for over 3 decades. Taking him out created this enormous power vacuum and an immediate, furious demand for revenge. And that revenge, well, it came fast and it came hard, hitting on multiple fronts at once. And that brings us right back to those shocking images of cities on fire that we saw at the start. Just look at the speed of this escalation. Within hours of Khamenei's death, Iran made it crystal clear what was coming. The first big hit was on the Aramco oil facility in Saudi Arabia. That's a direct shot at the global economy. Then, on day 3, this massive barrage across the Gulf states. But here's the crucial part. Iran also went after U.S. assets directly, attacking military bases in Kuwait and even reportedly downing several American planes. The message couldn't be clearer. Iran was ready for a direct fight with the United States. But it didn't stop there, not by a long shot. Iran has a whole network of allies in the region, and they were activated almost immediately, pulling even more countries into this rapidly widening war. The first and biggest domino to fall was Hezbollah in Lebanon. They unleashed a storm of rockets and drones into northern Israel. And just like that, a whole new front in the war was opened up, shattering a fragile truce that had held for years. Of course, Israel hit back hard. Their response was immediate, with airstrikes hitting targets in Beirut. This tit-for-tat violence dragged Lebanon right into the middle of a conflict that, just days before, had nothing to do with them. You could almost feel the dominoes falling, one after another. And as this thing blows up, the human cost, well, it's just becoming devastatingly clear. The Iranian Red Crescent is reporting that those initial U.S.-Israeli strikes killed at least 555 people inside Iran. It's a staggering number, and that was just the beginning. The United States wasn't spared either. The U.S. military has now confirmed that 3 American service members were killed in Iran's retaliatory strikes, a direct and tragic consequence of that initial operation. And in Lebanon, a country now caught right in the crossfire, Israeli retaliatory strikes have already killed at least 31 people. These aren't just numbers. These are families being torn apart as the whole region spirals. Now, you might be thinking, this is just a regional war, right? Well, the consequences are already hitting all of us, across the globe, especially when it comes to our economy. So, what does this actually mean for you, no matter where you are? It's pretty straightforward. That stable energy supply we all count on, gone, replaced by a huge spike in oil prices because key facilities got hit. The airspace over a huge part of the Middle East is basically a no-fly zone, which means chaos for anyone trying to travel and massive flight disruptions. And all of that together just throws global supply chains into a tailspin. We're talking major delays and higher prices for everything. So, after this absolutely insane 72-hour spiral, where are we now? Well, the truth is, The entire region is just holding its breath, braced for whatever comes next. And this might be the most sobering part of all. According to reports, President Trump has made it clear that this is far from over. He stated that the U.S. bombing campaign in Iran is expected to go on for another 4 to 5 weeks. That tells you this isn't a limited strike. This isn't a one-and-done retaliation. It's the beginning of a prolonged military campaign. And that leads us to the final haunting question. With Iran promising more revenge, its allies all fired up, and the U.S. committing to a weeks-long campaign, is a full-scale, absolutely devastating regional war now unavoidable? It feels like the events of the last 72 hours have set something in motion that might be impossible to stop. And that's the question hanging not just over the Middle East, but over the entire world right now.